Brad. He said, what do you think of the apology? I said, can I be frank? He said, yeah. I said, I thought it was fucking pathetic. Right? I said, but I do appreciate the precedent you set. He said, what precedent? I said, well, I just...
You got to speak to him?
Yeah. Oh, fuck yeah. Him and Bob McClellan.
Go on.
I said, under your law, Westminster law, is the Parliament not the highest court in the land? He said, yeah. I said, well, you set the most wonderful precedent today, brother. Yeah. He said, what do you mean? I said, tell me if I'm wrong. I said, did you not set the precedent that regardless of the nature of the crime, a person's legal remedy is to offer a verbal apology?
Yeah. That's right.
And McClellan went fucking white. He said, I said, mate, you wait till fucking black fellas start turning up in court Monday morning going, gee, I'm sorry for drink driving, Your Honour. Gee, I'm sorry I broke into that shop, Your Honour. Gee, I'm sorry I stole that car, Your Honour. He said, you wouldn't. I said, everyone I see, mate. As fair's fair.
Yeah.
That's the precedent they set, you know. You can steal people.
Yeah.
Fuck stealing a car. You can steal people. And all you got to do is apologise.
Say sorry.
Sorry, brother.
Yeah. And you don't have to do it quietly. You can go out and do it openly and have a big fucking day about it. Have a barbecue.
Yeah.
Have a big fucking barbecue and say, I'm sorry for them fucking things I done.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's fucked, eh? That's like the 6-day sinners.
They set the precedent. 7-day adventurous.
7-day minutes.
Yeah, I might go with colour.
Yeah, no worries.
If the people knew what was truly going on, if the people found out what's truly going on, we would descend overnight into civil war, mate.
Yeah.
It would be the people against the government.
Yeah.
You know, the problem is that the government in this country seems to think that it holds the sovereignty. It doesn't. The government of this country has to remember that it is the people of Australia, we the people, create the Constitution. Right? Or create the Commonwealth, rather. You just got to read the Constitution. That's what it says in the preamble. That's the very first words. Whereas we the people of the various states are mentioned, you know, agree to form the indissoluble Commonwealth of Australia. You know, we agree to form it. We are the Commonwealth. The government is our slave. The government is supposed to do what we tell the government to do. The government, it's not the position of the government to lord over us and tell us what we're going to do. The government doesn't get a mandate from the people to do anything, you know, and there will not be lawful governance in this country until such times as, for example, our members say to us, I'm going to vote next month on this issue. How would you like me to vote as your representative? How would my constituents like me to represent their opinion? Because that's all he is. Janelle Saffin, she is a representative of the people. She needs to speak to the people. Now, since she's been in, mate, Ian Causley, the whole time that maggot was in Parliament, he never once asked us what we thought. He voted the way he was told to vote by those people in the back room who were committing a crime under the Crimes Act by interfering with our political liberty, by getting him to vote the way they wanted him to vote. You know, people who are not part of this electorate influencing how my fucking member's supposed to represent what I think. You know? Absolute fucking farce, mate. And the sooner it's dealt with, the better. You know? I understand we've got to have a government. I've got no problem with that. You know? And I think the system we got is 60% good. You know? But the 40% of it that is bad really outweighs the 60% that's good. You know? Because whilst their good is good, the bad is fucking really bad. You know? It's not like the good's excellent, the good's just good.
So from your research, who's really running the world, running the country?
Well, up until the 16th of December 2006, a chap by the name of Arthur Sinner-Dennis was running the country. And John Howard was pretending that he was.
Who's this other person?
Arthur Sinner-Dennis. Arthur Sinner-Dennis was John Howard's Chief of Staff from 1996 until the 16th of December 2006. Or the 15th of December, actually. And he's now one of the senior finance officer for Goldman Sachs, JB Weir Australia, so in Sydney. But yeah, the problem that the problem that the people of Australia face is we've got two very distinct groups in Australia. We've got we've got the rednecks who think that the only law that is law in this country is white law and that's it. And then you've got the other people who think, hang on, it's not a matter of whose law is what, it's what's true and correct. You know, and it's very clear that what's true and correct is not what's going on. You know? Is that?
Okay. Okay, so you were explaining on the DVD that I watched last night something about, you put it in a very simple way, what does native title mean to you?
Native title is a crock of shit. How's that? Native title. Okay, I'll ask you a question. Now, this is how native title came about. The British Parliament told the Queen and the Admirals they weren't allowed to extend sovereignty into this land, but they did anyway. And then what happened was that they turned around, they started issuing title in the Queen's name over the land that they didn't own and didn't lawfully possess. And then what happened was the blackfellas learned how to read and write, and then we took them to court. We said, hang on, this is our land. And then they turned around and they said, well, hang on, we need some little vent off the side of this pressure cooker that we can vent off a little bit of steam every now and then. So every time these blackfellas get a bit hot under the collar, we can give them a bit of land under our title, called native title, but let them think it's theirs under native title. Right? If this land here is held under native title, don't pay the rates on them, see who owns it. You know what I mean? The government will think they have the right to take it back. Native title is bullshit. It is a legal fiction that was created by the courts and the parliaments of Australia to facilitate the government of Australia committing a fraud in respect of the title of the land. You know, see what they do is they create this illusion. If you come and fight us for native title, we might give it to you. So the blackfellas line up and go, oh, give me native title, give me native title. Good. No? But why seek native title, which is a crumb off the table, when you're sovereigns and you should be sitting at the table having served to you, having your meat put on a plate for you, having your veggies put on a plate and the gravy poured on, and the best of the silverware? Why are we the dogs licking up the crumbs off the floors? Because they've conned us, that's all. And we've afforded them the jurisdiction because we've capitulated unknowingly to their thuggery. We just got to stand up. We haven't lost our sovereignty, we just have to reassert it. Yes. And the best way that our elders can reassert it is, and I know I'm not trying to tell everyone what our elders should do, but what we should do with our elders and what they should do, form a council under their own law that is a tribal council, sign a proclamation of continuing sovereignty that states very clearly, this is our land, which also would include a treaty with their neighbouring nations, so you're locking in blocks at a time. Send them off to the Queen and the Governor-General and the Governor and the Prime Minister and the Premier and all the ministers and say, now, there it is. It's on the table. Now, if you want to challenge our sovereignty, you better take us somewhere independent where that can be determined.
Not the other way around. You have to prove.
Well, I'll ask you the question. You own this land here, and I walk on it, and I say, hang on, this is my land. You say, no, it's mine. And I say to you, prove it. What are you going to say? Fuck off. Okay? This is my land. I was here first. If you think it's yours, you show me your title, because I know it's mine. It's indisputable. The Aboriginal people were here first. Okay? So we did have sovereignty. Okay? So that's not in question. What is in question is, how did the white people, or not the white people, how did the government claim sovereignty? By what mechanism?
Yeah. Yes.
The long
How
arm.
can you be a republic?
Yeah, well, they're going to look funny when they've got shit up to about here.
Hopefully, hey.
You know?
Hopefully soon.
Very soon. You know?
I just fear, because they've got all the expertise, huge sums, highly trained people.
Yeah.
I just feel they're working already on something to combat that.
Want to comment on the potency of truth against lies? Maybe that's a way of responding to that.
Yeah, you can't.
How do you feel about?
Well, I'll put it to you this way. See that truck? That truck's pink. Is that right?
Yeah, no. It's pink.
No.
No.
Well, I'm on drugs.
Why are you saying?
I'm on drugs.
Why are you saying no?
Because I can see it's white.
Yeah, but what makes it? Who says it's white? Just because you say it's white, I say it's pink.
I'm on drugs. I think it's pink too.
psychedelic and shit.
Yeah. These are good mushrooms.
All right.
So we've got an argument now.
Righto.
Yep.
So what we've got here is, I'll pretend I'm a pommy. That's pink.
Oh, I'll say that's
Righto.
right. Mm.
We'll change the words. That's my sovereign land.
No, it's my sovereign land.
And how do you know it's white? How do you know it's your sovereign land? Because it fucking is. Right?
Yeah.
You don't have to prove it's white, because it is.
It is. Yeah. Anyone who comes
I've
along
got to
can
prove
see
it's
that that's
pink.
a fucking white truck.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's where their truth stands. Their truth stands in the position that they're trying to say that they own this land.
Bullshit.
Where's the certificate of title? Where's the treaty? Where's the agreement? Where's the transfer documents? Even under their own British law at the time, they could not transfer title without a title certificate. Where's the title certificate?
They don't care about it.
So what about the argument of terra nullis? Now, we've heard that term.
Is there an argument about that?
No.
That is an empty land.
You
can ask any school kid in Australia.
Well, they can come out here.
You can ask any school kid in Australia, was this an empty land?
Yeah, you know.
Okay.
If they want to come out and listen, that's fine. Yeah, so we've got terra nullis.
Well, see, I think that's back again like the pink truck. You can ask any kid in Australia, was this land empty when Cook come here?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
No, that's right.
So that deed, well, fucking, you must have wiped your ass on that
Let's have a comment on that.
Right. Well, as far as I'm concerned, I agree with Mick. The bottom line... See, there's Mick, isn't it?
Yeah.
The bottom line is that... I'll ask some questions, and anybody seeing this can prompt their own answers.
Yeah.
Righto.
When Captain Cook arrived here,
Hey, boys.
who owned it?
Boys.
When Captain Cook arrived here, who owned the place? Right, number one. Since Captain Cook arrived, what treaty has been signed by the owners to hand over ownership or acquiesce our sovereignty to those people? Okay? None. They created a constitution that specifically excluded Aboriginal people from even being counted as amongst them. Are we subject to that law?
No.
They turned around in 1967 and removed the piece of that law that says blackfellas aren't a part of us. Does that make us part of them?
Only in their law.
In their head.
Yeah.
Then they turned around and they said, hang on, we've now said that you're part of us. Did we consent?
Where's the document?
Where's the contract? Where's the contract between Aboriginal Australia and British Australia?
Yeah.
Where's the contract? Where's the acquiescence of sovereignty? Now, it's not blackfellas. I'll tell you now. If white Australia or Australians, whether you're white Australians or it's the wrong term, if non-Indigenous Australians believe there's going to be a problem in respect to the title to their land if blackfellas get sovereignty, let me clarify something. Too fucking late. There's already a problem. 3rd of October last year, the High Court of Australia passed a judgment saying that if you own freehold land, the only rights you have is to walk on that land and pay the government fees. The case is Bone versus Mothershaw. Secondly, on the 29th of April this year, on the front page of the Sydney Morning Herald, Frank Sartor, right? Everyone knows who he is. He's clear, very clear, saying that the state government is going to create a law that says that they can take your land and hand it over to a developer without compensating you for the ownership of your land. So if you think you own your land under white title or British title, go hard. You got my blessing. Try and prove it in a court of law. Because freehold just means you're free to hold it till the Queen wants it back.
So you're talking about fee simple disappearing?
Never existed in the first place. That's why they called it fee simple. You pay a fee and you're simple if you believe it. Right? Now, on top of that, let's have a look at the alternative. The sovereign Aboriginal people of Australia, who are the sovereign owners of the land, let's say you do a private treaty in respect of your block of land that you've paid for and you own. You do a private treaty with the Aboriginal people, and they acknowledge your ownership and your title. Where do you stand?
A lot better than you do with the statute.
My fur coat, you do, mate.
Well, that'll stand up in court. You've got a title from the original.
Exactly.
I'd hold, if I was a judge, I'd be looking at that over any other title.
No, if you were a judge, you'd be too busy worried about whether or not, if you did accept that, whether they're going to report you for being a pedophile. That's what you'd be worried about.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
So what about in relation to, you were mentioning down by the cars, in relation to licences, registration of vehicles. What's the reality on that as it opposed to fiction?
Let's have a look at the technical realities. The Commonwealth of Australia is a corporation registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission in the US. The state of New South Wales and all the other states and territories in Australia are corporations registered with the SEC. They have to be because they do business under the Universal Commercial Code, or the UCC. Right? Now, if the state is a corporation and the police are also a corporation, which is like a registered corporation, New South Wales Police are a registered corporation owned by a company called Tenix, which is an American arms company, right? We have this is the true structure. We have this company here, which is so-called company, or not so-called government of New South Wales, which is a company. It has a security service called the New South Wales Police Service, which is a subsidiary company of the primary company. Right? But its subsidiary isn't actually owned by it, it's owned by this other American arms dealer. So what you've got is you've got a government that is a company trying to assert sovereign rule over human beings, and the only way it can do that is by way of contract. Right? So just to get back to the licence issue. So what does it do? If you want to take your car and put it on a road that they claim they own, you've got to have a contract called registration. And if you want to drive that car, you've got to have a contract called a driver's licence, which permits you to drive on the road under a contracted agreement, which says you won't go over 100 k's in the 100 zone. Right? You'll stop at pedestrian crossings, blah, 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 blah. Now, under the common law, if I choose not to contract with the RTA, which is a corporation with an ABN, the whole bit, and I decide that as a sovereign person, I'm going to traverse my land upon which they've built their roads, they've improved my land, they can, two choices, they can either pay me for the use of the land that's on because it's my sovereign land with my fellow people, or alternatively they can shut their trap and I'll drive my car where I want to go without one of their licences and without their registration.
Is that what you do now?
My vehicle's registered, I refuse to get a driver's licence because I refuse to be bound by a contract, and I refuse to contract with a company that I don't wish to contract with.
Why did you register?
The reason it's registered is simply because my wife drives a car, and, well, knowing the thuggish nature of a lot of the police in this area, I don't want them harassing my wife, because I know that the police take great delight in harassing women and elderly people and people that can't fight back.
Where would someone like myself stand? Like, I've got pending licence suspension due to unpaid fines. It's about to happen. Yeah. How should, let's say...
Pay him with your set-off account, bro.
What's that?
Pay him with your set-off account.
Can you explain that process? Can you explain that process for me? How's that work? What's the set-off account?
Yeah, no, we'll keep going with that one and we'll come back to that.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah. So far as your licence and fines and all the rest of it, first of all, what sort of fines? Parking fines?
A speeding fine on motorbike. They gave me 12 months to pay it all off. I lost my licence and then they said to pay the $400.
But hang on, what is a fine? It's a
contract.
Payment for injury?
No.
Yeah?
I didn't injure myself.
No. Did you injure the state?
No.
So I'll ask you the question. You go to court and they say that you offended the state.
Yeah.
Well, ask them to bring the state in. Because if the state can't present at court and defend itself, it's got no case. Right?
What about a representative of the state?
Well, how does a state that is a corporation ask someone to represent it?
Can't legally.
Legal representative?
How?
Yep.
How?
Well, like, I don't know. Policemen make something like subcontractors.
Well,
so if the traffic cop that did the fines to me threw three on me straight away, overtaking double white lines, didn't stop at a stop sign.
And he proved all this? He's got videotaped evidence of it?
I assume so.
You assume so? Is that what happened?
No, well, yeah. Don't know. He was in a line of traffic. I overtook that line of traffic. He pulled out of that line of traffic and traced me through the...
Oh, so hang on. So he crossed double white lines as well?
Yes, you must have.
So he drove in a manner dangerous to the public and crossed double white lines, which is a breach of the law, in order to uphold the law.
Yeah.
Wanker.
That goes on a lot.
That's the same thing when they pursue people.
Look, mate, it comes down to the simple fact that under their Admiralty law, number one, Admiralty law has no jurisdiction on land. To attempt to enforce Admiralty law on land is piracy, right, punishable by death. Secondly, the police service is a private security company engaged by the state to protect its interests. It's as simple as that. North Coast Security, they have as much authority as the police. Zip. Mate, the police, let's get this straight. The police swear allegiance to a person called, an officer called the Queen of Australia. The Queen of Australia was created under the Australia Act 1986 Australia. Right? The Australia Act Australia 1986 gets its authority from the Australia Act UK 1986. And we've been through that. So if the police get their authority from the Queen of Australia, who gets her authority from an act that was created pursuant to an act being created in the British Parliament without our consent to have jurisdiction over us, it has no legal basis. So the police swear allegiance to someone who does not exist at law. They get authority from someone who does not exist at law. So how much authority do they have? Pretty simple.
I think authority was people given.
So if you take that argument into court, how...
Ask them to bring the documents into court justifying their jurisdiction. For example, ask the magistrate to provide a copy of his or her writ of commission. They don't have one. They've never been signed. Ask the police service to provide a writ of commission for its commissioner of police. Will not be able to provide it. Okay? Ask the chief magistrate to provide his writ of commission. As the chief magistrate presiding over all magistrates, presumably a magistrate will be hearing your case. He won't have one because they've never been issued. Okay? I'll give you a copy of a document. If you've got a laptop, I can download it onto a laptop.
Yep.
I've got it on my keys.
Yeah, good.
Okay? Mate, and it's as simple as that. Where do they get their jurisdiction from? Before they can exercise jurisdiction, they must prove jurisdiction. And if a court won't allow you to voir dire their jurisdiction, you are not obliged to acquiesce to it. Before anyone claims any right over me, I want them to prove that right. I want them to prove that they have this jurisdiction they claim that they have. You want to ask a question? See, policeman comes up to you, right? And he says, I'm a police officer. Okay, fine. Who do you work for? State of New South Wales. Okay, fine. Now, is that a human being? No. Is that a corporate entity? Yes. Oh, okay, fine. So you work for a corporation. He works for a corporation. He's a private individual working for a company. He's got no more jurisdiction than me.
Talking to the public.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely.
And that's all you need to say to an officer?
Exactly. Well, they won't accept that. But that's all you need to say. See, they're peace officers. They are here to maintain the peace. I'll give you a perfect example. I was in Sydney about 8 months ago, and I was with a chap, and we got a phone call from a brother down at one of the Corey brothers in Sydney, La Perouse, and he said, listen, we've got the police and the sheriffs here, they're going to repossess the house. And he said to the guy I was with, can you come over and help us sort it out, because the Bra Boys have turned up, right, because his son's in the Bra Boys. And we shot across the other side of the city, and we got there. We were in the city, and they were La Perouse, so in a 15-minute drive. And we got there, and there was half a dozen sheriff's cars, a bunch of sheriffs from the Supreme Court. There was half a dozen, 6 or 7 police cars. We pulled up in the driveway, and this little sergeant, he was about 5'2" or something, big Glock on his hip, and he walks over and he said, where do you think you're going? I said, I'm going to talk to my friend. He said, no, you're not. I said, mate, is this your property? He said, no. I said, well, stand outside the fence, and I'm going to see my friend. So when I saw my friend, I said to Bob, how do you want to do this? Do you want to have a right in the street, or you want to hand over the house? He said, we want to hand over the house, we want to do it all properly. But when the police turned up, the boys turned up because they thought there was something going on. And they're not going to leave until the police leave. So I walked out the front. I said, can I see the senior sheriff and the senior police officer? The senior sheriff came over, and the police officer the sergeant started walking towards me, a couple of his goons behind him. I said, no, just this chap here. Here's the senior officer. He came over, and I said, look, this is the situation. If you leave, Bob and the boys and everyone will allow this to happen peaceably. They'll pack the stuff up out of the house and leave. But if you don't go, it's going to degenerate into a fucking bun fight. He said, well, I'm here to make sure there's no breach of the peace. I said, not a problem. Seeing you didn't get it, I'll explain it to you a different way. I'm quite capable, prepared and willing to stand up in court and say that I instructed you, as advised by Bob, that if you left the scene, this would be settled peaceably. Your staying incited any breach of the peace.
You could say that in court.
Yeah, and he said to me, he said, what's your fucking name? So here it is, wrote it down. So I go and punch that in your computer. So he went away, he's lit in his car and he's on his radio and he's typing on his little screen in his car. He's looking at me and he gets out and he comes back to the other guys and he says, come on, we've got to go. And they left. Right? Two things he got. The first was he would have got advice not to tamper with me, because the advice of the Attorney General is don't lay charges against me without his express or implied consent. Express written consent, sorry.
That's the instruction.
Yeah. And I know why. Because if they pull me into court, I will do what I did the last time they did it. I'll pull in 2 human rights abuse observers from the UN, like I did in Casino, and I'll have them in court and I will stand them up in court and say, now, Your Honour, you use British law against me as a sovereign Indigenous person, and these 2 men are going to arrest you for committing an act of war against me under Article 51 of the Charter of the United Nations. They presented their credentials to the court, human rights abuse observers. UN human rights abuse observers. You can't use foreign law against me. And they didn't.
Where'd you find them?
Oh, well, one lives in Ballina, as a matter of fact.
Just to cut to the chase, really,
Yeah.
in Nimbin, our troubles here, and I know,
Well,
we were harassed by it because of a law that most people regard as wrong.
No, sorry. You're going about it the wrong way. See, if you're going to, the first thing you have to do if you're going to beat them is you have to kick them around the paddock with their own law. Now, if I was you guys, I'd be arguing Section 116 of the Constitution. Right, now, Section 116 of the Constitution states that the Commonwealth cannot legislate, and therefore, obviously, no state can create a law that's in conflict with the Commonwealth. Yeah. The Commonwealth can't legislate in respect of religious observance. Now, as a Christian, I would suggest that the Bible holds preeminence for me. The Bible says that God gave us the seed-yielding herb for our use. Okay? So it's not up to them to determine how we use that. It is up to them to observe our religious observance without confrontation or assault.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I'm a British subject.
Yeah, poor fella.
So am I under different law here than you are?
Yes. You are subject to the law.
Yeah.
Because unless, of course, you do a private treaty with an Indigenous group.
Uh-huh.
Okay? Now, because their law obviously has utter precedence. The Pacific Islander Protection Act says that the only people that the Crown of England has jurisdiction over in this land are British subjects. Okay? But if you did a private treaty with the local Indigenous people and then sent back a remittance to the Crown of England of your subjectancy to her Crown, in other words, told her to blow it out her arse, you free yourself of those binds.
Oh, that brings up another thing. That means all of us that live here, which are under the Australian government, can individually make treaties with Indigenous people.
Well,
because as we is now the system we live under.
You got to change your mindset. Mm. You are not under the Australian government.
No.
All right. Well,
okay.
We're not under the Australian government.
Right?
Being
we're
born
Australians.
here, are we sovereign to this country?
Being born here makes you an original. It makes you an indigenous. No, it makes you original. Eh?
Makes you native or...
Yeah, it makes you indigenous.
Indigenous is to always be.
No. See, this is these words, Aborigine, Indigenous.
Yeah,
see, Indigenous means you're born in the land.
Right. Only born in the land.
Means you're born in the land. Just born in the land, right?
Native is the same.
Origine means that you are of the original race. Yeah. Aborigine means you are not of the original race.
So they've been calling you people Aboriginal.
Yeah. Absolutely.
To add abnormal.
Abnormal. Abstract.
Abstract, exactly. It was a word.
So I would be
abdominizer.
Or even indigenous or native.
Yeah. We're more Aboriginal, you're more original.
Can I give you all you guys from around Nimbin, the best piece of advice I can give you is apart from that, throw $10 each in a hat and go and buy a copy of Black's Law Dictionary. Because that's the words they use in court and that's the terminology. When they use the word understand in court, read what it says in Black's Law. It'll tell you. If you understand the charges, you stand under them. If you refer to yourself as a human being, you are a monster. Hey!
But the government is go over men. The
Fuck
word
them.
is go over men.
Yeah, not this one.
Government.
Yeah, they just twist the words to suit themselves, mate. You know?
That's why we've got to watch the words we're using really clearly now, and a bit more. Let's get
Oh, yeah.
defined on the words.
Well, that's what it's all boiling down to in court, this
Trickery.
technicality of
Yeah.
words.
Trick.
And it's
Well-
very interesting talking about a company and contracts, because that's what you're all fucking bound by today.
Yeah.
Your
Exactly.
house, your whole fucking thing.
So what about
There's a
our-
contract and a legal
In relation to
entity.
that, like you're talking about the contract, you talked briefly about the birth contract, the birth certificate.
Well, when you're born,
This is for everyone, eh? White fellas,
yeah,
black
yeah.
fellas, anybody with a birth
in
certificate.
this country,
Yeah.
under their law in this country, and whoever they are, I'm not quite sure because they're not British and they're not fucking Australian, they're just cunts. Under their law, we have this thing that when you're born, your mother signs your birthing certificate. They call it a birth certificate now, but it's a birthing certificate, and it's to do with Admiralty law. Yeah, because when you're born, you come through the waters, the vessel, and you're a vessel of the states. You are born as a ship. You are giving a birthing certificate. You are then
Same as they would for a boat.
exactly, right, exactly.
Okay, they've turned us into both.
Yeah, it's all
No, it's all this law.
It's
how
all this-
based
it's
on
all
the
this-
land on law and admiral law.
Admiralty
I
law.
understand
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
See, it's and what happens is as soon as you get the birth certificate, as soon as that birth certificate's created, you've got the flesh and blood self, and you've got the corporate self or person. Now, because they, and I'll show you the distinction. This was fucking amazing when I saw this happen in court. This guy walks into court, and the judge said, "Is Mr. Lance so-and-so here?" And he said, "Sir, my name is Lance. I'm of the family of so-and-so." He said, "Is Mr. Lance so-and-so here?" Because I won't use his name just because I haven't spoken about using his surnames. He said, "Your Honour, sir, my name is Lance. I'm of the so-and-so family. I'm present." He said, third time, "Is Mr. Lance..." He pulled out his birth certificate and he handed it up.